Let's do a post free agent signings mock draft for the Green Bay Packers after they signed both Aaron Banks at guard and cornerback Nate Hobbs on Monday. Now, of course, the Packers could still make more moves this free agency. They have roughly $30 million still that they could spend. But of course, I want to do a mock draft after the two main moves that the Packers made this free agency. Not only that, we know for certain now they're not bringing back TJ Slayton, Eric Stokes, Josh Myers, and AJ Dillon, all of which signed with new teams. So today, we're doing a 7-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. We're not going to include trades in this one. I'm going to implement trades next week. I figure let's do a post-free agency or post-few day free agency mock draft first, and then next week, we'll implement trades into that. If you like mock drafts, I highly suggest going down and clicking the subscribe button. You'll find plenty of Packers mock drafts here on this channel, among everything else, Green Bay Packers news, analysis, and updates. It's your quickest source to everything Packers, so go down and click subscribe. All right, so now back into the video. Let's get right into it. Let's get into this 7-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers post Nate Hobbs and Aaron Banks signings in free agency. Now, nothing has really changed too much in terms of the draft, right? We already saw a bunch of change after the combine, then it kind of settled down because everyone's focusing on free agency, but other teams' needs have definitely changed. For example, the Vikings pick right after the Packers, and a lot of Vikings fans were worried the Packers were going to get a defensive tackle, and the Vikings needed that, yet they went out and signed Jonathan Allen and also Javon Hargrave, so it seems all likely that the Vikings won't go defensive tackle in the first round. My point being, a lot of things did change for some of these teams and what players they'll potentially go after in the first round, and also for the Green Bay Packers. Now, they still could go cornerback in the first round. Now, I won't rule out offensive line in the first round. If they do it, it's going to be a tackle. Do I see that happening in the first round? No, but I've been surprised a ton by the Green Bay Packers. I could totally see them going cornerback in the first round, but positions in need that they have yet to address in free agency, just 3-4 days now in. Defensive line, they lost TJ Slayton. They're going to need a nose tackle, a zero tech there. Edge, I think we all know we need edge talent. They could probably bring in another cornerback and, of course, wide receiver. A lot of people thought we'd go after Adams, DK Metcalf, maybe another free agent. And we have the same exact wide receiver core as we did a month ago. Dive right into it. Let's start this draft. Again, I'm not doing trades. I'll do them next week. I promise you, if you guys want to see trades, I'll do them next week. Let's get to our pick at 23. All right, so let's quickly go over the picks that happened before our pick at 23. Cam Ward at 1, Travis Hunter at 2, Armand Membu all the way up at 3, Abdul Carter at 4. That would be best case scenario for the New England Patriots, just end up with Abdul Carter at 4, Mason Graham at 5, Tyler Warren at 6, Will Campbell at 7, Ashton Genty at 8, Tedero McMillan to the Saints, Mike Green to the Bears, Mykel Williams to the 49ers, Nick Imanwori to the Cowboys, Shamar Stewart to the Dolphins, Will Johnson to the Colts, Donovan Ezeraku to the Falcons, Jahad Campbell to the Cardinals, Emeka Egbuka to the Bengals, Kenneth Grant to the Seahawks, Jalen Walker to the Buccaneers, Tyler Booker to the Broncos, Jahdae Barron to the Steelers, Josh Simmons to the Bengals. So there's a ton of talent left on the board here at 23. Malachi Starks and James Pierce. This is kind of realistic in my opinion. I feel like both these players are going to have a random fall on draft night, mainly James Pierce due to the character concerns, whatever it may be. And we just know he's going to fall all the way down, and the Eagles are going to end up with James Pierce at 32. I mean, you already know that's going to happen. And I think Malachi Starks, for no particular reason, is going to fall. I think Nick Emanwori will go first in terms of safeties due to the extreme combine he had, the amazing combine, and Malachi Starks could take a Brian Branch fall. Luther Burden is a very, very intriguing prospect, and if the Packers didn't have Jaden Reed, he would most definitely be my pick here. And I'm not saying they couldn't add this guy into the room and have, two guys. I think Luther Burden can play any spot. I think he can play the Z, X, slot. You can put him in the backfield. I mean, this guy can do it all. But I think they need more of a, true X receiver, downfield guy. There's also some defensive linemen here. There's a lot of defensive linemen here. We have Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander, and Walter Nolan. You could really take your pick. I would pick Derek Harmon, probably, or Walter Nolan. But then we have Matthew Golden. And the Packers haven't drafted a wide receiver since 2002, and that was Javon Walker. They didn't address it this free agency yet. Obviously, Brian Gutekunst, we know he has faith in his wide receivers. I have faith as well. Dontavian Wicks, I think Jaden Reed is a great receiver. Romeo Dobbs, but at the same time, Romeo Dobbs on the last year of his rookie deal. Same with Christian Watson, who's hurt, probably won't be back until later in the season. And do you know who replicates Christian Watson very, very well and probably has a higher ceiling? I would say almost definitely has a higher ceiling, is Matthew Golden from Texas. Golden is 5'11", 191 pounds. He ran a 4.29 40 at the combine with a ridiculous 20-yard and 10-yard split to go with it. He's still 21 years old, and he also has special teams ability. He returned kicks in college all 3 years. He was a Houston transfer to Texas in 2024. Back in 2023, he averaged 35.7 yards per return and scored 2 touchdowns. He also returned kicks for Texas. So not only can he plug into a take the top off a defense receiver role for the Packers, he can be kick return one. You might be going, we have Keyshawn Nixon. Seems all but likely that Nixon doesn't want to do that anymore. At least that's what he stated. Nonetheless, having another guy there would definitely help. And in terms of his stats this past season, nearly 1,000 yards in 16 games, 58 receptions on 83 targets, 9 touchdowns. He can beat press coverage. He has great footwork, yards after the catch ability. Body control is off the charts. This guy has extreme late hands. He can contort his body on the sideline to make acrobatic catches. Matthew Golden's probably my receiver number 2 or 3. It's close between Tedero and McMillan. It's just 2 completely different receivers. But receiving grade, 75.6, drop rate right about average, 6.5%, contested catch rate 61.1%, which is very impressive for 190-pound receiver, but only had 4 drops, 438 deep yards, and then also a outside receiver, but has some versatility, can take snaps out of the slot, but he fits right into what the Packers need. You bring in Matthew Golden, you have your deep threat, a burner, one of the faster players in the NFL that you can just get the ball in his hand and watch him make plays. So we're going to end the streak. It has to happen at some time. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's not. But if it is, and it's receiver, it's probably going to be Matthew Golden. So pick 23, we're going Matthew Golden, receiver out of Texas. So we're back on the clock at pick 54. And I think at this point, you're probably going to target defensive line. The Packers can still make moves. They can bring in a zero tech. They can bring in an edge rusher like Dante Fowler. There's been rumors of that. But I think if you go receiver 1, you almost have to go defensive line, whether that's defensive interior or at edge in your for your second pick. For defensive line, there's Shamar Turner available, Omar Norman Lott. As for edge, we have a lot of options here that I like. Braden Swinson, J.D. Tomolao, Jared Ivey, Jack Sawyer. I just feel like he's not going to be on the Packers board due to the short arms, due to the lack of frame. I just feel like he's not going to be on the Packers board. But someone who's been flying up boards is Braden Swinson, and you can see why. Swinson was a first-time starter in 2024 and showed out as such with a 9-sack season, 43 quarterback hurries in 13 games, an 83.3 grade, pass rush grade, 90.3. An outstanding pass rush win rate at 22.1%. So everyone that looks at edge players in this draft and say, we need a guy with production. Yes, it's just 1 year, but this guy has production, and Braden Swinson is very, very intriguing. He's a very talented edge rusher. He has very active hands. He does a great job using his hands. Also good against the run, 5.8% run stop rate. He's about 6'4", 255, fits right into the Green Bay Packers. Now, Jared Ivey's a heavier option, also 8 sacks the past 2 seasons, 6'6", 285. I like Jared Ivey as well, but I think Braden Swinson is slightly above him, and I really like this pick here. So we're going Braden Swinson at pick 54, edge at LSU. We're on the clock at 87 in the 3rd round, and there are some great options here available. Jordan Birch is someone I really like. I know we just went edge. He's more of a heavier one that you could, kick inside if you need to. Marcus Mbow, probably not pronouncing the last name right. I think this is the guy that could go, it could definitely sneak into the 2nd round, in my opinion. He's a guy that has a lot of potential. We also have Jalen Royals at wide receiver. Wyatt Millum is a guy I feel like the Packers would definitely target. Hasn't allowed a sack the last 3 seasons. He's played 3 straight seasons at left tackle. I'm unsure what the Packers' overall future is with Rasheed Walker. With what Dan Moore got in Tennessee, what they just paid Aaron Banks, it seems like they're not going to go and pay Zach Tom, pretty much a blank check, and then also pay Rasheed Walker. So I know they have Jordan Morgan and they project him at left tackle. So I don't think we're going to go tackle here just yet. There are some options at cornerback and also defensive line. I really, really like CJ West out of Indiana. I think he would fill right in where TJ Slayton left off, but be an instant upgrade. Same with Jamari Caldwell, another nose tackle. So we might try to grab him in the 4th round and maybe go cornerback here. I really like Noel Williams. Jacob Parrish is all right. Dorian Strong's an interesting one. He's not someone I've ever mocked to the Packers. He's right on that line of Packers threshold cornerback, being 6'1", 185. I think Packers usually like right around 190 and above, but he has good speed at 4.5 40, good vertical at 36 inches. And he's also a very, very good corner in cover 3. That's what the Packers ran a ton last year. He's a confident tackler as well, only had 2 missed tackles in 2024. He had 2 interceptions this past season, allowed a 61.6 passer rating. In 2023, even better, 3 interceptions, allowed 11.8 passer rating. Full-time outside corner. The Packers need outside corner depth, especially if they move on from Jair Alexander, which could happen on draft night. We could see this happen. And I think, we went receiver, we went edge. You probably go cornerback here. I know we added Nate Hobbs. He has inside-outside versatility. Probably his projection, he would be better in the slot overall, but he's definitely capable on the outside. But the Packers likely need to add another guy, especially, if Jair is traded or cut. So we're going to go Dorian Strong, cornerback from Virginia Tech here at pick 87. So unfortunately, I was trying to get Caldwell, the defensive lineman out of Oregon, a good plug-in nose tackle option for the Packers here at 123. Unfortunately, he went before this pick at 111. Probably would have tried to trade up. And also CJ West went at 108. Those are 2 guys that I feel like the Packers may end up with one of those guys, whether that's in the 3rd round, whether that's in the 4th round. I think that's their way to replace TJ Slayton. Now we're at 123, and the defensive linemen that are on the board, a lot of these guys are 3 techs, 3-4 defensive ends, more pass rushing defensive linemen, where the Packers need their 0 tech, their nose tackle guy. And a lot of these guys here don't really fit that bill. So considering there's no real defensive tackle that I'm looking to go in the 4th round here, we could go receiver. You could double dip this early, 1st round, 4th round. I honestly could see it. Torrey Horton's very intriguing. Pat Bryant, Kyle Williams, Isaac Tesla. A lot of these guys are awesome options here. But I think I'm going to double dip into the edge room. I mean, you can never have enough pass rushers. And if the Packers don't sign any in free agency, I mean, there's almost a guarantee they're going to draft 2 in this draft, and getting one in the 2nd round and the 4th round. And there's a lot of options. Hassanin, APR, Savion Jones, Oladejo. So we got Braden Swinson. Why not get his teammate with Savion Jones? More of a project at edge rusher, but a real solid, versatile piece that is good against the run, and you can kick inside on early downs to help against the run. And we lost TJ Slayton. Not saying this guy's going to replicate, anything TJ Slayton does, because they're completely different players. But, we need to add more guys on the defensive line that can help stop the run. And Savion Jones is exactly that. 7.7 run stop rate this past season. Also a nice pass rush win rate at 15.1%. Definitely has to work on his pass rush moves for sure, but is coming off a 5-sack season for LSU. And why not pair both of the teammates up? I was about to go Ahmed Hassanin, but I kind of wanted to add a guy that can maybe kick inside a little bit on early downs and help against the run, and that is Savion Jones. So we're going Savion Jones here at pick 123, edge out of LSU. Here in the 5th round, I think I'm going to get an offensive tackle. The Packers aren't bringing back Andre Dillard, at least it doesn't seem like they are. They have obviously Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Zach Tom at right tackle. They're going to need a swing tackle. They're going to need some depth there. They don't really have that. Travis Glover, I wasn't impressed last year. Maybe he can impress us this year. But I'm going to go Logan Brown, because this guy is a beast in the run game. And I think just having him 6'6", 315, pass block grade 78, run block grade 82.2. I always really start to like Kansas offensive linemen for some reason. You saw it last year with Dominic Pooney. This guy really only has 1 full starting year at right tackle in 2024, but didn't allow a single sack. Has extreme strength and extreme size as well. And he's an interesting thought to have as like a swing tackle depth guy. So we're going to go Logan Brown, tackle out of Kansas here at 160. The Packers just seem to find gems in the 4th and 5th round at O-line, and I feel like just getting one around those areas is almost a given for the Packers. Here in the 6th round, we're going to get a defensive lineman, and it's going to be Cam Horsley from Boston College. He had a 5-year career at Boston College, so he played under Jeff Hafley. And Cam Horsley had a really, really good season in 2024. I believe had 42 tackles, 7 tackles for loss. Really showed his ability in the run defense. 84.5 run defense grade, a whopping 14.4 run stop rate, which is insane. Can rotate in between 1 tech, 3 tech, wherever you want him to be. And overall, I think getting this guy into the building, obviously Jeff Hafley has rapport with him. We need to add a run defensive lineman, and this class is extremely strong in D-line, and getting a guy in the 6th round maybe would have been like a 4th rounder last year in terms of defensive linemen. So we're going to go Cam Horsley, defensive lineman from Boston College here in the 6th round. Here at pick 239, obviously you're trying to get, special teamers in the building, guys with some potential. And one guy I really like, a sleeper, a late round guy, is Teddy Buchanan, linebacker from Cal. Had a low missed tackle rate, or lower, 9.2%. Had 75 tackles this past season. 10 of those were missed. He had an overall grade of 77.5, run defense 71.8, coverage grade 76.2. But what's really intriguing about him is how much of an athlete he is. 6'2", 233, 26 bench reps, ran a 4.6 40, and wild explosion. 40-inch vertical, 10'5" broad jump. I think the Packers could definitely add a linebacker in this draft. They haven't brought back Eric Wilson yet. They very well could, but I think Teddy Buchanan could be a plug and play, kind of lose Eric Wilson, bring in Buchanan, solid special teamer, maybe develops into more. So at 239, we're going Teddy Buchanan, linebacker from Cal. For our final pick, we're going to go for another wide receiver. I feel like the Packers are definitely going to draft 2 receivers in this class. We already got Matthew Golden in the 1st round, and we're going to go for another receiver in the 7th round. And it's my favorite draft sleeper at the wide receiver position, and that is Elijah Badger out of Florida. 6'1", 192 pounds. Didn't have a single drop last year, so obviously us Packers fans love to see that. 0 drops. Grade versus man coverage, 88.5. A lot of people are going to be looking at Dyke from Florida, and he might get drafted before Badger due to his impressive speed at the combine. But honestly, I think Badger's the better receiver. 3 straight 700-yard seasons, ASU transfer, any bit of consistency at quarterback last year. He would have been an 1,200-yard wide receiver and maybe a day 2, early day 3 pick for sure. I really like Elijah Badger, and I think he'd be an absolute steal in the 7th round. And pairing him up with Matthew Golden is just chef's kiss. So we're going Elijah Badger for our final pick, receiver from Florida. So that does it for Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft version 4.0 after they signed Aaron Banks at guard and Nate Hobbs at cornerback. In the 1st round, we break the streak. We go receiver. First time since 2002, we go Matthew Golden, an absolute burner, a yak guy, contested catch. He can really do it all. Great route runner, great feet. I really like him at wide receiver, and if the Packers are going to break the streak, I think Matthew Golden's going to be their guy at 23. Braden Swinson, great production this last season, 1st year as a starter. I believe 8 or 9 sacks. The Packers need to add talent into that edge room. Dorian Strong in the 3rd round. The Packers added Hobbs, but they need to add more depth to the outside cornerback position. They have plenty of guys that can play nickel. They have Hobbs. They have Keyshawn Nixon. They have Javon Bullard. They have Kalen King, all of which can play the nickel. They need more guys that can play outside, and Dorian Strong can definitely do that and is great in cover 3, which the Packers ran a ton last year. Double dipped into edge, went more of a run defending edge, a heavier guy, kind of your, Preston Smith build per se, in Braden Swinson's teammate in Savion Jones here. Round 5, Logan Brown. I really like Kansas lineman. The Packers need a swing tackle. This guy is a unit, 6'6", tremendous run blocker. Would love to have him if the Packers, obviously bring on an extra tackle in running situations like they like to. Logan Brown is your guy to do that. Cam Horsley played under Coach Jeff Hafley. Great run defender. Had, I think, 7 or 8 tackles for loss, 42 tackles this past season. Got to replace TJ Slayton snaps and production. Teddy Buchanan, got to replace the production of Eric Wilson for special teams, and I think Buchanan is exactly that. And then my favorite sleeper in probably the entire draft, if I'm being honest, is Elijah Badger, receiver. Like I said, we just talked about him. Getting a second receiver in this draft class, I think the Packers need to do, and I think Elijah Badger would be a steal in the 7th round. So that does it for the mock draft. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. The Packers can still go linemen like I did. Will they go it early? Probably not. We'll see. The Packers still should get another cornerback like we did in this mock draft. So the free agent ads don't change a ton. We still have other needs, and I feel like I addressed them in this mock. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Reminder to go check out BetUS. Use code YouTube150 at sign up. Really appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.